Road trips in the middle of nowhere lead to pee breaks in the middle of nowhere. I pulled over on the side of the road. There's the main road. Not much traffic, but there is some, as that truck will attest. Anyway, I decided to duck behind this little fence and do my business. And only afterwards did I notice the dangling cable. Now, it doesn't appear that cable is actually a live power line, but I also don't know exactly what it is. The strange thing is, I walked over there and never noticed it at all. So it just shows, be careful where you pee. To my right, you can see a dust devil. Dust devils form in places like this where it's cold at night and it heats up rapidly in the morning, and the change in temperature causes the air to swirl and create vortexes, and lo and behold, bang, you got enough dust, you'll get a dust devil. Today's route will take me back to the scene of my motorcycle mishap last September that left me stranded and dehydrated in the middle of the desert in 40-degree temperature. That's over 100 Fahrenheit. That September, I'd been traveling Highway 50, dubbed the loneliest road in America. I left from Reno and was headed for Ely, Nevada, with the goal of reaching Moab, Utah, for some adventures. Instead, my trusty steed slowly broke down on the voyage. Today, I plan to return to the scene of the crime. But before reliving the past, I got to enjoy this beautiful stretch of road between Battle Mountain and Austin. I really enjoyed this stretch. The mountains were beautiful, there was hardly any traffic, and it was just an enjoyable experience. Not many take Highway 50 anymore. Interstate 80 is faster and is where the bigger towns lie. But Highway 50 has character and one of the coolest catchphrases, so it's worth the adventure, unless you break down. Just outside of Austin, I noticed my engine warning light on, so I pulled over to investigate. Big mistake. I couldn't restart my bike. I flagged down a passing sheriff's truck, and he gave me a ride to Austin, in the back, looking like a criminal. But there are no mechanics in Austin and few services. The nearest tow truck was Fallon, nearly 2 hours away, back the way I'd already come. Instead, I found a friendly guy with jumper cables willing to drive me back to my bike and jump-start it. He even followed me a ways to make sure I wasn't stranded. As I knew there were no services in Austin, I went on towards Eureka. The warning light stayed on. So this is the gas station where it all started, where I got the jumper cables and managed to continue on towards Eureka. But first, I'll give you a little view of the quaint town of Austin. Austin has seen better days. Like a lot of small towns, there's not a lot of growth opportunities here. A lot of the buildings are run down, some are closed, but the people here are resilient, and they're carrying on, doing what they can to support themselves, and trying to make Austin a place for visitors to come to. But it's not tough just for the people of Austin. It's tough for people who travel. These small towns are the only services in the area, and when the services disappear, that means it's that much harder to get from point A to point B and to really explore and see the wonderful sights of the world. So I'm always rooting for small towns to make a comeback. The mountains just outside of Austin are fantastic. Great motorcycle roads. Of course, somewhat snowy in April. Back in September, they were completely barren and dry, and I had no idea it would ever snow here. As I headed on to Eureka, I kept wondering what was the real problem. Was it just the battery, or was it something more? I was fairly sure it was just the battery, as it was the original and it's a 2009. So I got a lot of service out of it. Anyway, I needed gas when I got to Eureka, and at that time I couldn't get it jumped anymore. We found some people willing, but it just wouldn't start. And I met two guys who were from back east in the States, and they were doing a Trans-America Trail. One of them was on a KTM 890R, and the other, I think, was on a KLR 650. And that guy was a bike mechanic. So he looked at it, and we talked to some of the locals and found there was a supply store in town. Really one supply store for everything. And he's told me if I could give him some cash, he could go on his bike, pick me up a battery, and he could come back and install it for me. I couldn't pass that up, although it felt a little strange giving somebody, what was it, $120? And watching him head off on his bike. But of course he came back. He was great. He also installed the battery for me. I had no idea how to put the acid into the battery on the fly. And it was a little finicky getting the leads connected, just the way my bike was set up. And once we got it set up, the battery is relatively weak. It's not really charged. So we couldn't start it. And he tried starting it by, the run and jump method, but we couldn't get it going, and they had to get back on their journey. But thanks so much, guys. That was awesome what you guys did. And I went into town, talked to a woman who was working at a booth for the tourist industry, and she introduced me to the local sheriff, and I got a jump from a sheriff. And then I had to decide, do I keep going or do I head back? Because I wasn't sure if everything was settled. But if it was just the battery, it would charge as we go. So I decided to head on for Ely, the next town in mind, knowing, of course, there was also no services there. Okay, we'll be leaving Eureka and heading out to the road where the bike finally gave it all up, and Jimmy rescued me. On this trip, I made it to Ely no problem. Last time, though, the battery wouldn't charge. The stator was also damaged, and the bike finally gave it up on the side of the highway on the loneliest road in America. I was wondering what to do, and flagged the first truck that came along, and they pulled over immediately. That was Jimmy, and he had tie-downs, and he took me and the motorcycle all the way from there to his town of Elko, which is about 4 hours away. And I can't thank him enough for all he did. He brought me to his town, he brought me to a motel, he toured me around, he made sure that I was safe, and I really owe him everything. It's fantastic what people will do for others, particularly small town people. They really look out for people above and beyond. I finally completed my journey across the loneliest road in America, but it was predicted to be below freezing in Ely tonight, so I decided to head further south towards Alamo. The 318 proved to be a scenic highway and a fitting end to the day's adventure. Our journey today started in Elko. We headed west to Battle Mountain, south to Austin, and followed the loneliest road in America through Eureka and ending at Ely. There we took the 318 down to Alamo and spent the night in the very interesting Sunset View Inn. This was my room for the night. Each room has a different theme. Pretty cool. Hey, I hope you liked the video. If you did, hit the like button, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next ride.